Welcome to Confessions of a Wannabe It Girl. I'm your host, Marley Freygang, and I'm here to help you filter out all the bullshit and become the next It Girl. This podcast explores the reality of what it really takes to make it out there. As it turns out, it is way less Instagrammable than I thought it was going to be. I'm still very much a work in progress, but there's simply nothing else I'd rather be doing than chasing my dreams. So let's learn from my mistakes and work together to achieve our dreams with more confidence, clarity, and direction. Let's get after it. Well, welcome, Julia. You are a social media manager, and you have some very big celeb clients. And we're talking not just like 100K, we're talking $1 million plus.
Yeah.
And you've been in social media management for 6 years. And also, we'll get on into this, but you're putting yourself out into social media for the first time.
Yeah.
This is so insanely impressive. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
No, I'm so happy we connected. I'm literally so thrilled to be here.
I'm so excited to talk about this, but first, how did we get here? How did you start? What was the path?
It's a very interesting path.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I sometimes don't even know how I got here. I was at UCLA studying to be a dietitian. I was pre-med. And yeah, literally pre-med. I majored in communication, minored in nutrition studies. And I had this weird thing where in high school, I was kind of more of a party girl, didn't really care about my grades. And then in college hit, and I pretty much grew out of that phase and became more of research girl, really goal oriented, really just wanted to make something for myself and wanted to help people. And I wanted to be a nutritionist, help women figure out their health. And that was what really, really drove me. And I had straight A's. I graduated top of my class. I was insane with everything. And so I had done all of my internships, all of that. And the one thing that I was curious about is how could I give myself an edge to get into grad school? Because grad school I wanted to get into was taking 15 students per year. So I was it was USC. Obviously, they're taking they're exclusive. They're taking 12 to 15 students. So I was I need to make myself stand out. This led me to reach out to this woman. Her name is Mona Vand. At the time, she went by Dr. Mona Vand. She's a wellness and health influencer. She was a pharmacist in her past. I actually heard her on this podcast called The Skinny Confidential.
Love The Skinny Confidential.
Yes. Yeah. So I heard her on this podcast and I was I need to work with her. I was I don't know who this is. I need to work with her. And I actually cold emailed her, just completely cold, was hi, my name is Julia. I follow you on Instagram. I just heard you on this podcast. I'm so enamored by the work that you're doing. Please let me intern for you. I will work for free. I basically gave her, I value packed my entire, instead of telling her about me, I was let me tell you what I can do for you. And no experience, but I will do whatever you want. I'm a fast learner. I would love to work with you. I got ghosted. She didn't respond.
I was is this the story? You're no.
I got ghosted and she didn't respond. And then shortly after, it was maybe 2-3 months later, I was just graduating. I still didn't really know what I was going to do to get an edge. And I got an email saying, hi, Julia, meet me at Soho House tomorrow. It was the day after I graduated UCLA. So I was okay. I literally come so prepared. And at that point, I was kind of all right, well, I'm just going to come with bullet points of what I can do.
Were you nervous?
I was, but I have this really weird thing where I don't get nervous when I feel confident.
Love it.
And I did my research and I did my due diligence and I felt
so prepared.
And I had nothing to lose. And this is something that I talk about all the time. It's what do you have to lose at putting yourself out there? There's nothing, if anything, you have so much to gain. I'm proof of that. So I went, I had all these bulleted points of what her audience isn't seeing that they should see, what I could do for her YouTube, all this stuff. And she hired me on the spot, literally hired me on the spot. I worked with her the next day. And from that point on, I worked with her for 2 years before she left for New York. So that was kind of how I got into the influencer space. And that was a crazy time because that was the era of the blogger and the influencer on the rise,
Right.
And it was kind of just this the wild, wild west of that, So we were working with agencies. We just started getting her brand deals. At the time, she was in the 40,000 follower range, so very, very micro. And we grew her social so much, in the time span of 2 months, she was already at like 140,000 followers.
Damn.
Like it was nuts, and she was growing rapidly. And I just realized within 6 months, I was like, you know what? School will always be there, but this is an opportunity that I've never really like saw myself in, but I've kind of like found myself here, and I'm really creative. I'm super organized. I like loved the independence and loved like the autonomy, honestly. Like you just get so much autonomy in social media that you make your own schedules. You can, you know, you have a lot of outlets, and like there's a lot of freedom. Plus, something that not a lot of people talk about is like it's so women dominated, and it was so refreshing to like be in groups of women, you know, like you walk into a room of high-powered women agents at DBA, or, you know, you're at an influencer event, it's all high-powered women, you know, and it's like, it was such a eye-opening experience for me that I was like, damn, I need to stick this out. So I was 21 and probably just turning 22, and it kind of changed my life. And from there, it just kind of spiraled.
So then at this point, you're like, I'm going to do the whole social media managing thing for sure.
Yeah. I kind of was like, all right, I'm going to put this on the back burner. At the time, I was like, right when I started interning with her, I was still doing organic chemistry and microchemistry in summer school at UCLA.
Which was probably also helpful for the type of content
was.
she was making.
It actually was. It like ended up, all of the stuff that I've done makes so much sense in the grand scheme of things. Like I've been able to use everything, even my communication degree with people. Like people always mock communication.
For sure.
But like, and I agree, but like at UCLA, it is intense. And there's a lot of like actual like media classes that go into communication. So I was kind of like, oh, this all like is full circle here. Like it's all making sense. There's a lot of marketing involved. There's a lot of like social copy that I do that like I'm taking all of that knowledge that I got and using it into there. Like a lot of research goes into what I do if you're good. And like analytics wise, like my whole brain, like I took statistics in college. Like it just kind of all like makes
it all
sense.
clicked.
Yeah.
So how did you kind of start to, so you're still with her and then you start to gain more clients?
So no, I was just solo with her, and we became best friends.
Aww.
Like literally best friends.
Are you still tight?
Yeah. I'm going to her wedding in September.
Stop.
So
love that.
She is, I don't know if you will know the name, but she's with Gary Vee.
Yes.
And yeah.
So who doesn't?
Okay.
On some level.
Yeah. So she's dating Gary Vee. They're engaged now. She didn't kind of like have a big announcement. It's not really her style. But
that's just what she wants to do.
Yeah, I'm going to her wedding. We're really, really close. And I attribute her to like just a lot of my success at this point, just because like I couldn't have had a better first experience, you know? Like I was like, damn, I have a really good boss who I love and like look up to, and just I see a lot of like similarities between me and her. So it was really nice to have like a big sister vibe. And I just think that like she was so protective of me. I was so protective of her. And we just like kind of like had this like amazing, like we worked out of her apartment, you know? It wasn't like this like, I mean, it was bougie to an extent. Like we were going to Soho and we were working in a really nice apartment, but like it was very like mom and pop vibes between
it's
us.
still startup in a way.
It was very startup. So like we loved like learning and growing together, and it was really, really cool. And she was always amazing. Like anytime anybody, because like back then, if you said you were a social media manager, what that meant to a lot of people, and it still does, but it's a little bit less now, is that you're an intern or that you're an assistant. And a lot of people will treat you like that, you know? Like back in the day, you know, when I would go to Revolve Around the World or any sort of like big influencer event, and I said I'm a social media manager, it was an immediate like, oh, you're an assistant. Can you do this? Or it would be like a talking down to. And she would get very like, no, like she's running my business. Like she's running my business and I make money from her. And she would always like put people in their place. And I just admired the fuck out of it. You know, I was like, that's amazing. Like I just love her and love her for that. Not everybody's like that.
Right, but it taught you how you should be treated.
But it taught me how it should be treated. And then from there, I actually started working with an agency. I got picked up almost immediately from an agency. She had known me from my work with Mona. And she kind of was like, hey, look, like, you know, I need someone. I'm working with this caliber of client. And a lot of her clients were celebrity clients. And so she picked me up, and within 6 months, she made me partner of the company. And it was very quick of like, I wasn't necessarily partner of the agency. She just made me like her partner. You know, we were partners together doing everything. Like I was left out of nothing. And she like immediately saw something in me. And I was hustling, I was in my early 20s. I'm still hustling. I still feel like I'm in my early
in my grave.
I know. I'm like, I'm hustling forever and ever.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, exactly. But it was kind of the thing where like I was given power, and I didn't obviously ever want to like abuse the power. I felt like very grateful that she was kind of like giving me this sense of like title, and like position. So I was like, okay, I want to like show up for you, and like do my best for you. So at that point, we were taking on way bigger clients. Obviously, like she had a ton of experience in like the PR world, and she came from like Harper's Bazaar.
Right.
She was 10 years older than me, so she had a lot more experience in this field. And from there, kind of like I had this whole, I think, another 2 years with her, and then we in the middle of the pandemic, created 2 companies. One of them got into Forbes magazine.
Wow.
So I was like 24 in Forbes magazine.
That's amazing.
And I like could not believe it, like it was kind of like a pinch me moment. But, I spent that whole time just like grinding, working so hard. And then I, at some point, branched off on my own, and here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah.
And so in that time, you started to really work with like, I guess what the public would call celeb. Or like high mega influencer level. And that can be kind of tricky.
Very.
So like what goes on internally with working with a celeb? I mean, you don't have to give us like all the NDA stuff. I mean, we'll take it.
Of course I'm
don't
under
do that
NDA.
though. But like, how do you communicate like what kind of stuff we're going to put out?
Right.
What kind of content we're going to make? Do you have to talk with the PR team? Do you have to talk with the agent? Like what's that look like for you?
It very much depends on the caliber and just also like the client and what their kind of vibe is. A lot of the clients that we worked with, I have clients who are major A-list celebrities who, yes, like if we're posting something, the PR needs to be involved. And there was a lot of like, it could take hours, if not days, to get a post up because of how much had to go into it.
How do you even keep something trending?
It is very, very, it's a headache. I'm not going to lie. Like it's a lot to go with an A-list celebrity, and they are so personal too because they have so many eyeballs and they know it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's such an amazing thing of like they have this great platform and a great opportunity to use their voice. But then on the flip side of that, there's an immediate chance of being canceled or being hated on for something. And it really shakes a lot of people to their core to the point where it's like they don't want to post content, you know? They don't want to, or they're nervous, so everything needs to be overanalyzed and overanalyzed, and then we can post it. And it's like, at that time, it's tricky for a social media manager when I personally know that like a trend is here and gone the next day, So it's like we're trying to post something. Let's say in 2020, there's the pillow trend where everybody's putting a pillow over them and putting a belt on it and like, shooting a little thing, whatever it was. We tried to do that with one of our clients. She was like making it, and then she overanalyzed herself and was like, because a lot of the celebrity clients that I have are the most self-conscious only because of this specific instance of like, they're going to get picked apart and they know it, like nothing they do is ever going to be right. And like, any client or any celebrity that ever says, I don't read my comments, I don't do this, I don't even care if you're Kim Kardashian. I don't buy it for one instance.
No.
Not one instance. I have worked with so many women who are, and men, but like mostly women who are the top of the top, and they will say out loud, oh, I don't read my comments, and then I'll get sent a screenshot at 3 a.m. in the morning. And I'm like, a spiral, I'm like, uh-oh. Like now there's a spiral going on, and you have to kind of be like, it's one comment out of 800, like it's totally fine, and you have to like backtrack and help them like build up their confidence. But it's
so you're
really
also a therapist.
Oh, I'm very much a therapist. And like there's also like the tricky part is that establishing boundaries is part of the struggle, and it is a big struggle. At the end of the day, like these clients who, by the way, like you're a celebrity client, you're a certain caliber, which means I'm going to offer you my services, but only at a certain caliber. Like you're going to pay a price to work with me because of the amount of work I'm about to endure because of what you do, like that's just the give and take. A lot of celebrities aren't used to that. They want it handed to them on a silver platter.
Sure.
So I've had people who are like, your rates, I'm sorry, whatever. And it's like, okay, I want to run away in the wrong another opposite direction. But then I have other clients who feel like when they pay me, it just means that they own me. And so they want to like always be in contact with me, have no boundaries, text me at 3 a.m., voice note me, the whole shebang. I've dealt with everybody.
We need to get scheduled text messages.
Oh my God.
That is why does that not
exist?
Yeah, it exists. Yeah, like how you can schedule a Slack message, you can schedule an email. I need scheduled text messages.
That's smart.
So yeah, but
Apple.
Apple. But they're breaking all your boundaries.
It's just really hard. And after 6 years, I've kind of come up with a formula, and I talk about this on my TikTok, but like I've come up with a formula to kind of like, hey, like nudge you and right away, here's how I operate. Here's how I work. Like if this isn't how you work, totally fine. We're just not going to work together. But like, I've kind of like come up with the confidence to do that now because of the amount of people that I've just abused my boundaries. And like, I have felt a level of burnout that no one should feel, like to the point where like I got yelled at one time by a client who I cannot name. But I got yelled at one time by a client because I was not awake at 3 a.m. to listen to her voice notes. And she was telling me about all her dreams and aspirations and goals and brand deals that she wanted. And I was not awake to receive it. And then I quit. And then she told me that she would pay me any amount of money that I wanted to bring me back on. And I said, no amount of money in the world is worth what I had just endured. I'm going to have therapy to go get rid of this. I'm like, it was like not just a one-time occurrence. It was like an every week occurrence. And I was like, I can't, I'm being barked at like I'm nothing, and like it was such a degrading feeling. I'm like, listen, we're on the same team. I'm trying to get you there. Like I'm trying to make your dreams happen for you. Your social media manager, and this is just like from the littlest like mom and pop shop to like the biggest A-list celebrity, your social media manager has your best interest in mind. Trust me. Like they want you to succeed just as much as you want to succeed. So let's not like make me feel like I'm like nothing at 3 a.m. or yell at me at 3 a.m. as if I'm not putting work in, So that's kind of the trickiness that you have to like go through, and it's a lot.
And what about the trickiness of dealing with their privacy? Like will they be upfront, or like do you kind of figure it out as they go and we're like, okay, we're not going to go there?
Yeah. A lot of clients actually I get really close to. Like I have the luxury of being really close to. And I think it's because I don't put out the persona of like, I'm going to, take, your name and abuse it. I don't like to do that. I don't even like to name names, to be honest. I was with my friend yesterday, and she knows what I do, obviously, but like she doesn't know to the extent. And so I was like,
you don't even tell your friends the names.
I sometimes do, I sometimes don't. Yeah. But like, and it depends on like the closeness of my friends. She's a close friend, but not like a close friend, not a best friend. And she was like,
love that.
Yeah. And she was like, wait, so who are you working with right now? And I told her a few of the names, and she was like, what? She was like, wait, you worked with who? And this and that. And I'm like, this is why I just don't do this. There's a privacy thing where it's like, I don't want to like name drop. And I come from, the industry in general. Like I grew up in LA, so I'm very like not starstruck by many people. There's almost very few people that I'd be like, oh my God, at this point, especially because I've worked with my heroes. And when you work with your heroes, it's kind of like a slap in the face because you realize that your heroes need to be taken down off of the pedestal.
I was going to ask that. I was like, is the quote "never work with your heroes"?
Yeah,
somewhat
it's
true?
Pretty valid. It is pretty valid, and not all. I've had great experiences with a lot of people, but there have been a lot of people where I'd be like, oh my God, I'd give an arm and a leg to work with them. I'd do anything, and then I did it, and I'm like, oh, I take it back. I want to unsee this. It's like it's like you really just want to unsee that because it's like, oh, you idolized this person, and it's almost like the person that you thought that person was is just so not it,
Yeah.
So it gets to be a little tricky, but this is the flip side of that, and this is the perspective that I feel like I, as a social media manager and, from my experience, I would love to just like spread this to you and to everybody who's listening and to my followers too, is like the flip side of that is that the privilege that I'm given is that I get to see the sides of these people that most people don't. And in that same like respect is I get to see like the insecurities they feel. I get to see the meanness that they have. I get to see like how they are with their partner in behind closed doors like scenarios, I get to see a lot of like the intimate moments and the things that people think that are like so glitz and glam, and like, you know, the amount of like, oh my God, like this person has it all going on. I get to see the very opposite of that.
Right.
So there's a groundingness of it. Like there's just a very much like, okay, this puts things into perspective, because if this person is like this, then everybody who's showing this, like showing up on social media as this perfect, you know, highlight reel of their lives, it's just goes to show that nobody has it perfect, and that everybody's perfect is so different and so flawed in their own way, and that's okay. But it's really hard, especially nowadays when you're scrolling on social media and you see stunning girl after stunning girl after perfect relationship after like every, you know, it's like it gets so almost like overwhelming and so, and it's like, damn, like it makes you put a microscope to your own life. And like if I can spread anything, it's to not.
Yeah, it's so, I mean, that's a huge reason why I started this podcast, is because we do that. And then, you know, there's also upending it even more. Compare your offline life to somebody's online life, and then try putting your line on life and comparing it to someone's online.
Totally.
Horrible.
Totally.
It's scary.
It's scary. It's really scary, you know? And like I've had clients too where it's like, you know, there's a lot of editing that goes on, and that's totally normal.
The game.
That is totally normal. But for someone who's in Idaho, who's growing up with, you know, social media, and they don't know that, and that maybe they're not as privy to that, it's really hard when I know I have the knowledge that certain celebrities will put brown colored contacts on top of their brown eyes just to appear a deeper brown, or like, and then that will, you know, overall like add to her look and get picked up in the press that she has the prettiest brown eyes. Or, you know, it's like I see when people are like pinching their waists in after having a baby and they want to be edited a little bit. It's like giving that mom in Mississippi who just had a baby, who maybe doesn't know that she, you know, like edits her photos.
Right.
That self like consciousness, because it's like, oh shit, I'm not there. Like, you know, it's like, sorry, can we curse?
Yeah. Okay.
Curse all the time. I've done it a few times, and like I gotta.
I was like, oh yeah, definitely here. Yes.
But you know, it's like something where it's like, if anybody is listening to this, I just want to reiterate that everything you see is just not. It's just a facade.
It's all produced medium.
It's all produced, and it's very rare to see. There are people who don't go on, you know, and do that. I would actually say that Mona, my first boss, she's very, very, very good at just being like, I used to edit all of my stuff and now I don't. And here's my raw self. And she's kind of had this like revelation, and she's almost like made fun of herself in a way. Like she's done it in a really like classy way of being like, I can't believe I used to do this. Love. And like, this is how it was. And she's done like swipe through. She's very like talkative about it. But like, I think that that's like the side of social media that like, and the privilege that I'm awarded being in this of like, I've also been in rooms with women who I've looked up to, and when they have their camera, it's their safe space. But when they take their camera away from them, it's like talking to a wall. And it's like, whoa, like, who are you? And do you have a personality? And also, are you going to say words to me or no? Like, that is literally like how it almost like the transaction goes, because they're so comfortable with their phone. And then the second they put it down, there's like a lack of personality.
How do you communicate with someone like that? Especially if like, and is that usually, I don't want to characterize it, but maybe people who make content full-time all the time.
There's a lot of people who make content all the time who don't have that aspect.
Right.
Like, obviously, like there's so many amazing content creators out there, but there are a lot that like, it's just like almost eye-opening to see that there's just a lot of people out there who you maybe have this like thought that they're one thing, and then they're just totally the opposite. And it just does put things into perspective. I just think that like I was given this role of being a social media manager for 6 years in this exact realm of being in the influencer celebrity space. And like, if I do nothing other than like speak this into existence and speak this like lesson, I just feel like that's enough for me to feel fulfilled, you know?
I love that. And how do you feel about the push for, I put authentic content?
Yeah.
And like, how do you approach authentic content? And is authentic content really authentic?
This is like my favorite question. And it's also like the hardest question because I don't want to harp on anybody who is trying to put their most authentic self out there. Like that's amazing and good for you. And I try to come up with everything very authentically too. If something doesn't feel right to me, then that's like my warning sign. But also I think it's become such a buzzword at this point. And it is also like a little triggering when I'm hearing someone like, I'm not going to lie. Before this is just listening to a podcast. Anytime I'm in the car, I like to try to listen to podcasts. And I was listening to a podcast and the woman who was on it, she's so smart. But she's very unrelatable at the same respect. And so I'm listening to her and one of the questions was like, okay, well, how did you network? Like how did you meet these amazing business founders? And the woman was like, I just showed up as my authentic self and went to networking events and showed up as my authentic self and was vulnerable. And like, it was like, sure. But what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, no, I don't. Like, I have no idea.
I'm sorry. Also, that means nothing to me.
Your authentic self and my authentic self are going to look really different. Yeah.
Like that's like great for you. But like, you have the chance to now like say what worked for you. And that's what you say. And it's a little triggering of like, I don't know what that means. Like, I need you to elaborate on that. Like, and it was kind of like, I think that in that sense, like, it's like, okay, I can't relate.
Yeah.
I can't.
Authentic goes in the same category as when people say to me, make it Instagrammable. I'm like, are we talking about 2014 Instagram? Are we talking about the current nude Instagram? Like, what do you mean when you say make it Instagrammable? Totally. And I think authentic goes in that same, like, what's authentic content? And at the end of the day, unless like, and I think this would truly be very boring, unless you are walking around with a camera on all the time and it's not edited and you don't have you're not dressed, you're in your pajamas all day, I just don't believe anything is truly authentic content. Even though I think you can show up and be yourself and show your personality. It's just like authentic content. I'm done with it.
It's just like, can we not? Like, or at least if you're gonna try to say that you're being authentic, I actually take that back. I think if you are being authentic, why have to say that you're being authentic?
Yeah, you don't have to.
You don't have to announce that you're being authentic.
We should know.
Yeah, like there should not be an off button on your authentic self. Like just show up as your authentic self, and like let's not like slap a label on it or like overly buzzword it.
Totally. And like we all understand, we have high energy days, we have low energy days, we have like really high stress days, and like so your energy can be different. That doesn't make it not truly yourself.
Totally.
It's just so interesting, the constant like need to create in that space with that kind of voice.
I don't disagree at all. And it's just such a thing because like now it's like you can almost like not go viral if you're not being vulnerable or if it's like, or if you
like remember when everyone started crying on TikTok? Yeah. Like I was like, wait, when did we start doing this?
Happening?
And I was like, I will never do this. Then I made the trailer for this podcast and there's a clip of me crying in it.
Right.
It's just like
what's
weird.
Funny is like I see videos like that and I almost like register it in my brain as inauthentic because like if I'm crying, I will tell you right now, my phone and me recording myself crying is not a thought that happens. It's just not a thought that happens.
Yeah.
I don't sit there and think like, oh my God, I'm crying. Let me pull out my camera.
Let me get my phone.
Let me get my phone. Hold on 1 second. Can you hold on with my emotions?
Push that down.
Hold on. Okay, we're good. Like that's just the weirdest thing to me,
No, it is weird.
And it's like, if that is the case, then that's fine. Maybe we live in like different realities, but like at the same time, it's just to me registers a little bit inauthentic. It's like if you are crying and if you're going through something, maybe go through that, let yourself go through it, and then talk about it later if that serves you. You know,
totally. So I want to shift a little bit to talking about like growing a presence and putting yourself on a social media forefront as you are doing. And it's like kind of your first time stepping out from behind the scenes. How does it feel?
So I'm like still getting over a little bit of cringe myself.
Okay, good. I love that we all have the cringe.
Really cringe. I'm like,
we all think it's so cringe.
I've just never thought of myself as being the type who's like on camera or, and I've been very comfortable being behind the camera, and just like kind of like observing through the lens of my own iPhone, and I have never really thought to myself like, oh, I should go after this. I should do this. Until this year, until I had a really rocky year last year. I was in a really weird place. I was telling you before the show, but I got off of birth control. I moved to New York for 5 months. And I kind of like I was single. I just like didn't really know what LA was doing for me. I had been here my whole life. I was kind of like ready for a change.
Always good to give it a try.
And I went out to New York, and it was for an amazing job opportunity, but the job opportunity kind of like got flipped on me and changed very drastically over the span of like a very short amount of time, which is totally fine. It happens all the time. It's just that like I had uprooted my life to go to New York.
Sure.
And so it was like a very much so like, okay, now I'm here. Like, now what? And so I had kind of like a discovery phase of myself in that time period. And then I came back to LA, and I was like, I just need to take a second and like think about what I want to do. And what I really like doing is educating and like helping women. And that's like what I typically like to do is like just educate and like help as many women as possible. And I think for me, it's about like, how can I help as many women get into positions that I've been fortunate enough to get into, you know, because it should be something that is shared and not buried. And like, I think that there's so much that I've learned over the 6 years that I wish that I knew. And I wish I had like a big sister, like a social media manager, big sister. And I was like, kind of like, okay, I want to do that. Nobody's doing it. And
You're very transparent too.
Yeah. And also like, I think that, and I am like, I value transparency. I want to put it all out on the table. If I can help anyone and anything, I want to do it. And I kind of like took a step back, tried to like do my research. Obviously I'm research oriented. So
I love that.
I tried to do my research and see like if anybody was doing it, and if I liked anybody doing it. And the answer honestly is no. There's some people who are doing it in a way, but I see a lot of like BS on there of like, take my 2-week social media course and you will have 6 figures at the end of a month. And it's like, no, like, what are you talking about? And then I'll like go through these courses, and the advice is so botched. It's just so not true. Like, and it's clearly coming from someone who's maybe trying to have a money grab, or I don't really know their intentions, or maybe they have good intentions and I don't know. But like, all I could know is that it wasn't where I thought it could be. And I just started to kind of very slowly in January. I can remember on my birthday, which is February 19th, I can remember on my birthday, I felt like I was getting more consistent. But as someone who is very much behind the camera, to be in front of the camera, talking to a camera is so uncomfortable, so cringy. I'm someone who barely has used my social media myself.
Right.
I know how to make an influencer, and I don't do it myself. Like, you know, it's like,
right.
And like, I've had so many people along the years be like, you're so cute, you should do something. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Never. Like, in my head, you know, I'm like, that'll never happen. It's never going to be me, you know? But at the same time, it's like, if I have a message and if I have something of value to share, then it's so different. So I started taking to the camera. I started to kind of like, only on TikTok, by the way. I just kind of was like, I'm just going to try. Like, trickled in a couple followers. And now I have this community. And I'm at 12,000 followers, but it doesn't really matter. Even if I had 1,000 followers, it's like the community of girls that reach out to me on my Instagram and on my TikTok are just the most driven, amazing, like solid, encouraging girls. And I think I've built this like thing. And I also have like a Facebook community where I'm posting like job opportunities. I'm filming my course literally tomorrow.
I love that.
Yeah. So I've been working on my course ever since I just said like that I did research. I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to like take my time to do a course because I want to do it right. And I don't really want to do it as a money grab. I want to do it as like, okay, this can like literally be the 101 of like how to become a social media manager and how to make 6 figures, because I've been making 6 figures since I was 22.
Wow.
I have not taken a dime from my dad. And I take pride in that only because of the fact that like from where I'm from, Calabasas, that's not the typical.
Totally.
It's very stereotypical of like the women in my community, and the girls just did like grow up with moms who encourage you to marry rich, and that's totally fine, all good. But
we love it. We love both sides of the coin.
We love both sides of the coin.
We love both sides of the coin.
I'm here for both sides of the coin.
But I get it.
But I feel like I just kind of wanted more for myself personally, and then I wanted to always do it the right way with integrity and just like honestly like help people get to like where I am, or, you know, even bigger than me. So that's kind of like where I started my TikTok, and it does feel cringe still to post. I still haven't done Instagram, by the way. Like, have not taken to Instagram. I know
there's something weird about Instagram. You think it's more public than TikTok.
It's like my
equally
friends,
as public.
Like all my friends are on too. I'm like, listen, guys, I don't think I'm an influencer, but also like I kind of need to like try this a little bit. Like, it's so hard. It's so hard to make the segue, but I have to say, like, and something that like I do talk about on my TikTok is like, I don't even have a website. Like all of my clients, everyone has come from word of mouth or like from networking opportunities where I've really just put myself in front of the right people.
And you've managed to just stay in the loop.
And I've really stayed in the loop. And I think what it is that I will just take any opportunity to meet someone and go the extra mile. And again, I don't do everything for money. Money comes where passion goes. You know, I believe that that was something my dad always taught me is like, if you're not passionate in what you're doing, the money is not going to have like to follow you. You know, you're not going to be chased by money. But I feel like I've been chased by money ever since I decided that like, this is what I love. And I feel like it's an abundance mindset as well. You know, you can live in scarcity all you want, but like once you open your mind up to like, I could have any client on the entire earth, it really like starts to change things for you. Yeah. And in my course, I'm talking about how like the steps of getting to that point and like real concrete things that I've sent influencers that have gotten me jobs, that I like the price kits that I use specifically like from beginner, intermediate, and advanced, like in terms of your social media experience, like there's just so much that I want to like share. And so that's where like my outlet is on TikTok. And that's kind of like where I've become this like talking head now. It's weird. It's so weird.
And so the course is for people who want to become social media managers.
Yeah, and I'll do another one too of like if you want to become a creative content creator, that'll be my next one. But because I'm a social media manager myself, I feel like this like I want to be the mother of social media managers.
It's like illuminating out of you. I can tell how you're so passionate, which is great. But like if you have something like that, you have to do it and you have to share it. And, like, you have to go also with your first instinct first.
Totally. And like the other thing is like you have to believe in yourself and invest in yourself. And I think up until this year, I didn't. I really didn't. I think I believed in myself in terms of like my skill set and what I could bring to another influencer or celebrity. And I've spent the last 6 years building companies, 6-figure, 7-figure companies, and doing brand deals that are massive for other people. And I'm kind of not maybe like looking to do that myself, but like I think that I've never really saw myself as the type of person who I should be investing in. You know, I think it like took me that rocky year of like, oh shit, what am I doing next?
Yeah.
Because I had so much success right away. Like when I was 24 in Forbes, it kind of like set the tone of like, oh, I have to like
you can only go
top
up.
this.
Yeah, you can only go up.
Yeah, like I have to do something to top this now.
Right.
And you know, that was kind of like where my head was at. It's like, okay, well, I've had great success. What do I do next? And that last year, that rocky year really made me like look at myself in the mirror and be like, why are you not doing this yourself?
Yeah.
And like, you know, what can we do? I also don't want to get too deep, but I do talk about this, is that I lost my mom 5 years ago and we weren't super close. But I lost her to pancreatic cancer.
I'm so sorry.
And it's okay. And it showed that life is so short. And like, if you're not going to do something now, there's just no time that you're like, there's no better time. You know, it's like you can keep putting excuses in your head. You can keep telling yourself you'll do it in a year, or you can keep telling yourself that you'll do it tomorrow. If you're not going to like take the opportunity now, it's just that I've noticed and like have experiences for myself, like tomorrow isn't promised. So like, don't go out with regrets. Like I feel like if you're in this space of like, oh, maybe I could be this, or if there's an ounce of you that wants to do something, go for it. Try it. Why not? Do it. Experiment. I don't even care. Just put yourself out there, because like that, your life and like all that you've built and worked for could be taken away from you in an instance, you know? So I think at that experience also set the tone for like, it's been 5 years now. So it's kind of like been hand in hand in my career. And a lot of what I do and the way I feel about things and my values and my passion is very much stemming from the fact that I can see that someone can be here one day and then be gone the next, you know? So not to get super deep.
I love it deep.
Yeah.
Do you think that made you more confident too?
I think over time I got a lot more confident in the sense of like, there's just nothing to lose. I love saying that because like you really just don't have anything to lose ever. So it's like, if anything, like I think that when you put yourself into a box, you have more to lose then than you do putting yourself in, you know, a circle where you can go so many places and like just try a bunch of things and then like revert back to what you were doing and have no harm, no foul if you wanted to do that, you know? Like, it's a totally fine and dandy thing to do is just like put yourself out there, try a bunch of things, see what sticks. Obviously, like I don't think that you should like stress yourself out about it. I think that like I have taken years to get to this point, you know, and it's something that like people think being a social media manager or success or
so glamorous
being an influencer. Exactly. It's not. It's like a lot of grind. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of like just putting your head down and doing the work and doing it really good to the point where you get, you know, more and more experience and more clients and more referrals. And that's the way that I've gone about it.
Too.
That's the network. That is it, you know?
Totally. So, and you know how to do it. And like you already have the skill set, and everybody always wants to know like, what's the strategy? Do you think the strategy that you're using for yourself is similar to the same you've used for the clients? Like, if you have like an idea of what the hook is in social media, everyone wants to know the secret.
It's so funny because it's like, I don't practice what I preach, but
really?
No, I don't. But I should, because it's me. I have a really hard time. Like, again, I'm still in the cringe phase. Like, I'm very proud of the 12,000 followers that I've accumulated. I think that that's a massive amount. I think that like for me, I'm sitting here being like, that's, you know, 12,000 more than I had in January, you know? And like, that's crazy to me that like, yeah, you know, it's like, I didn't have that and now I do. And so, but I would recommend if there's a strategy. I mean, everybody, it's social media is not a one size fits all situation. Yes. And strategies are pretty crazy to do because, I mean, that's kind of what I like really pinpoint in the very beginning stages of working with an influencer or a celebrity or any client. I like sit there and do a 7-day strategy where like I don't talk to the brand for literally 7 days. I'm like, just don't leave me alone for a second.
Let me
get
it together.
I'm like, I need to literally put all of your chips on the table and like rearrange and see where we're doing right and see where we're doing wrong. I'm very analytics based. I think that like that's the biggest thing that you can look towards is your analytics. Like I love looking at it.
What should you be looking for in the analytics?
So if you're looking weekly, just start looking for like the reach and even the follows and link clicks or anything like that that can show you what people are legitimately engaging with. Because it's like at the end of the day, your content can be informed by your audience. I just feel like if you're out there to make content for your audience, then why not involve them in it? Like ask them questions, do polls, be super engaging with them so that you can kind of understand like what they're looking for. And then on top of that, like analyze those analytics. Be like, okay, like, you know, this week I posted this podcast link and they loved it. So I'm going to do more like that. Or like this week I posted a brand deal and it was about skincare and they didn't like that. And I'm probably not going to do that again. Yeah. And, you know, it's like that kind of stuff can really start to like guide you. And I always tell my clients that there's a 3-month process where it's like we are just getting to know each other. We're just starting to get into the good stuff, like the thick of it. And I am learning the brand or the influencer or the celebrity just as much as I'm learning their audience. So it takes a while and it takes, you know, a lot of like just looking at things, analyzing things, making sure that like we're all on the same page. And a lot of it in the 3 months that I work with, you know, I say 3 months because that's really like the time that I think that you can start to see results is in around 3 months. And I say that because when I'm at that 3-month mark, it's really hard. You can plan all you want and you can do as much strategy as you want. But at the end of the day, it's very reactive in those beginning times because you're just starting to like realize, okay, this posted really well. What about this posted really well? Okay, well, there was something really personal about this, you know, and people really related to this. Oh, okay. So let's do more of those. Let's not overdo it though. Let's start doing like, you know, cute creative posts, whatever. And I fill content calendars just like that. That's exactly how I go about it. And I talk about this on my TikTok too. I show how I used to go crazy with content calendars. Now I've gone back to like the simple.
Right? Yeah.
I've just gone back to simple. I'm like, you know what? It's a Google Doc. And if on the Google Doc, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then maybe Saturday and Sunday. All those are pretty much off days. Friday and Saturday are hard days to get engagement. Yeah. But, you know, Monday through Thursday and then also Sunday are pretty good days generally. And on those days, what I will say is that all I do is plan the content and plan the caption and plan my content around that. for myself and for influencers. And that's the sweet spot, is just like trying to plan ahead, but also knowing that things are going to move around and be reactive. And like, that's how it's going to go. That's the name of the game, you know, unless you're working with a corporate company, which like, that's totally
They
different.
don't like do the,
they don't do that.
The trends and the things and whatnot. And like, do you ever feel nervous or like pressure when you're like dealing with these accounts that literally have like 1 million+ eyeballs on them?
Yeah, I do actually. I not necessarily anymore, but I can like think back to times where there were things that I've done, like typos.
Yeah, that would be my
Oh
ish.
my God. I want to die whenever I get a text saying there's a typo. I want to literally throw my phone into the ocean and take a flight to Mexico and never come back. I'm like, I just made a typo on someone who got like 1 trillion bajillion views, and I can't even forgive myself.
But
like,
you just gotta keep
going.
And
I'm like so hard on myself with that stuff. Obviously, like the nature of my job is being a perfectionist and being so uberly organized. But like you're human. I'm human. You got to make mistakes some way or another, and it happens. And if it happens, you kind of like need to pick yourself back up and be like, I'm so sorry. I'll change it right now. That's totally my bad. Or sometimes things don't get posted on time, or they don't get cross-platform posted, which is like a lot of clients want their Instagram posted to their Facebook, but they want it posted instead of having it like automatically posted, because that sometimes messes up the engagement. These are like behind the scenes. This is like very techie.
No,
but like
we like the techie.
Sometimes it's better to post very like organically on Facebook. Like you have to do it within the app so that you can get the most, it's like that's just the way it is.
Right.
And so
every app's going to like it more when you give them the attention.
Yeah. It's like when you're doing everything like within the app innately, that's like that's what they like.
Right.
If you're staying in their interface, and that's what they want.
Use their captions, use their
use their editing, use their thing.
Use their text. Yeah.
Exactly. That's like old news at this point. But like still people don't do that. But,
of course not.
Which is why
we all don't have that much time.
Yeah, literally. But there's a lot of times where I think I get nervous about making mistakes, or if something doesn't hit, or even till this day, like if I think something's going to perform or like a trend and it doesn't, and it bombs, I'm like, do I know what I'm talking about? Like, what if I do, like sometimes I'm like hard on myself in that sense of like, wait a minute, I thought that was going to like take off.
Right.
And it didn't. And sometimes it's just the algorithm, and I can't control the algorithm at the end of the day. Like, it's so hard as a social media manager. You can't overpromise, because it's really just a game of odds.
Well, and I have a very weird relationship with social media. Like, I absolutely love it, and I absolutely hate it. And I've had poor mental health with it, and I've had amazing mental health with it, and all the above. But like, I will get on very, very big people's platforms, and I will still see there's one video in there that I'm talking mostly TikTok, like it only has 1,000 views. It just happens. It doesn't matter how big you are. It doesn't matter how small you are.
And some people are like, should we delete it? Like a lot of clients that I have who are bigger get embarrassed. And they're like, oh my God, that bombed. Should we delete it? And I'm like, no.
That's human. We all have.
I'm like, leave it up. It's totally fine. Like you're human. It's fine. Like all of your other posts do so well. Like that's just one thing. But again, there's this like need to show up as a perfect person on social. And that's, I think, why maybe we have like a love-hate relationship. I mean, I have a very deep, dark love-hate relationship.
I'm sure you do.
I feel like I have Stockholm syndrome to like my phone, I'm like,
I
please leave me, but I love you.
Right.
please let me have a break, but I need you. Like it's very much that vibe,
Totally.
And it's hard because at the end of the day, like this is what I do for a living. So of course I need to be on my phone at all times, but also at the end of the day, I don't get a break.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard reality. In my course, I will be talking about this, where it's like, if you are the type of person who wants to be a social media manager, but you want to do it because you think that you're going to have so much free time, and that you think you're going to have holidays off, and that you'll be able to like globe trot around the world.
Nope.
Think again.
Yeah.
Like think again. That is not this.
Right. You have to deal now with everyone's Christmas post.
Exactly.
Right.
Like if anything, you're working nonstop on Christmas, and you're working on every single holiday because there's a holiday sale that some brand is going to have your influencer contracted on, and you have to do it. Like that's ultimately the reality of this job. Yeah. And like there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. It's not an intern's job. That's my biggest pet peeve, when someone's like, oh, I'll just get an intern to do it. I'm like, good luck with that. Good luck. I'll see you in a couple months when you realize that an intern can't do it.
Right.
That's ultimately how it is.
Totally.
You know, they always come back to you.
Yeah, because they also just, there's so much that even people who don't do it understand, people who have done it and created their own platform understand that you have to learn how they have to do it and you have to unlearn them certain things. I can only imagine the length. I have one final question for you. So can you tell us how you balance being like your lovely, very trendy self, but then also being professional online and in person?
Yeah, it's a fine line because, you know, and I think that this is why I kind of like revert to not telling a lot of people, like especially friends, like what I'm doing and who I'm working with, because the professionalism, I think, is when you are kind of like running your mouth and like about a client. Like we all have client struggles in this industry. I'm sure you know, but like, you know, not all celebrities and influencers are like great to work with. You know, it's really hard. And so I think that the way I balance the, you know, being professional in real life and also like online, I want to give people the knowledge that that is the case of like, you're not going to meet a celebrity or an influencer and not all of them are going to be amazing. And without naming names, like I think that the name game is wrong. And I think that's where I kind of like pride myself in not doing. I don't like to like throw clients under the bus, even when they're the worst. I mean, you saw like even when they were the worst clients to me, I still will never name the name to my core. Like some of my best friends might know the names, but they're not in the industry. Also, like my advice to anybody is like any circle that you're in, any job that you're in, anyone that you think that is your friend in your job space, and just any city that you're in, it's such a small world and that expression exists for a reason. You could be talking to someone who, you know, could know the friend of the stylist of that person. And that is something that's legitimately happened where like that has like happened in my experience where someone comes to me about someone that I've worked with and I have to sit there and just act like I don't know anything, but it's awkward and it's like it's such an eye-opening experience at the same time too because that person comes off as very unprofessional and it's like I think after so many years of doing this, it's like if someone views me as an outlet to talk shit about like their influencer or the person that they're working with or something, I've done something wrong. Because I want to put the barrier up that like that's not okay. I don't want to like be that person. Because like the second that you get involved with that and the second that like you allow that person or other people to do that is the second that you are attached to that, you know, and it could come back to you negatively. And there's nothing more important to me at this point in my life than my career and my name and my reputation. And this is why I haven't scaled my business because I worked at an agency. I obviously saw how she scaled the business. You know, she hired other social media managers. But there were a lot of things that I saw there that were not the way that I would run the company or run a company in general. And I think for me, this is the reason why. It comes down to reputation. And it comes down to like the fact that everybody knows everybody, or even if they don't, it's like you want to present this professional like person, and if you can, obviously, like in any respect, but also like I also come off as a friend to a lot of my clients, so and I end up like really actually liking a lot of my clients, so there's also that, you know, like I don't want to be like a lot of the times like I'll have my clients be like, hey, look, like I really like love and adore you and like want you at my wedding, but also like need social media there, like what do I do, you know? And it's like there's that like line of like, okay, you have to cross the professionalism and then also like the friendship vibes. But that's a little more niche, I think. But in terms of just showing up professionally online, I think that like I pride myself in just the fact that like everything on the internet is there to stay. And so even if you want to delete it, I just feel like you have to be really careful about that. I think your words are your biggest superpower. And like if you're using them correctly, then good for you. But if you're not, it can be a very dangerous game and a slippery slope. And I think that I've seen it happen firsthand where like there's just been nightmares that we've had to kind of like go in and be PR and like overhaul someone because they said a horrible word online. I mean, I think I can talk about this. I don't think I'm NDA'd under this, but do you know Hannah Brown from The Bachelor?
Yeah,
do you remember in 2020 when she?
Okay. Yeah.
That was a horrible time.
Yeah.
I was working with her.
Okay.
And it was
that's like a lot.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It was a nightmare.
That was probably the worst one.
Yeah, no, like that is I think the one that I can point to because it's so out and she's also so open and she's such a love. But like she did everything in her power to kind of like come back from that. And she was genuine with it. She met it with like, oh my God, I'm the worst person on earth for saying that word. And I need to like take a step back from social media and like actually assess my life. And she really did it. Yeah. But
see, that's a good thing of a cancel.
Yes.
That's what I actually have a very strong opinion on that. If a cancel happens, we should learn and grow from it and not like be like, go away.
Well, I'm with
you.
There's
a few people maybe go away.
Yeah. Maybe Harvey Weinstein can go away.
That was literally exactly what I'm thinking about. And like, you can go away.
Yeah, you can.
But there are some people I'm like, I want to see you learn and grow.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And like, we need to give them the opportunity to. If I just always think of this as like, put yourself in their shoes, you know?
Yeah.
If you had a camera watching you at all hours of the day, do you think that you would be perfect? Do you think that you would not get canceled? Because I'm sure that I would, like at some point in my life, whether I was like a dumb teenager or even
I get nervous about things I've said on the podcast.
I'm sure. Like, I'm sure it's nerve-wracking, you know? And like at the end of the day, like what I just said, words are your biggest superpower. Like that's all you really can do at this point. And so that was a big moment where I really, really recognized that like, oh wow, like this is a lot, you know? Yeah. And I've had scenarios where we've been brought clients and I've actually said no because of things that they've said and done. And I don't think that I could overhaul them, to be honest. Like, I don't think that there's so much out there.
Some people don't want to change.
Some people don't want to change. And I don't want to fake that they're going to change. Right. Like, there's a lot of people who have come to me and they want me to make them something that they're not, which I can do. I'm very capable of making someone, and I know that. I'm very capable of that. But at the same time, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's like not
using your power. That's like not what I want to do at all.
Yeah.
Like I want to make you a better version of yourself, but I want you to be an already amazing person. You know, I don't want to work with anybody who's not that. So yeah, it's there's a lot in here, you know.
Balancing a lot of different plates.
Balancing a lot of different plates, wearing a lot of different hats. I mean, it's crazy. It really is crazy.
Oh. Well, Julia, please tell everybody where they can find you at because this has been one of my favorite episodes.
Oh my God. Well, you can find me on TikTok, obviously. Yes. You can find me on TikTok at Julia Broome. And I'm going to start using my Instagram. I'm going to start. If I get like the balls to, maybe today I'll post a photo that I've been sitting on.
Love it. And the course is coming soon.
And my course is coming really soon. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah. I mean, that'll be really, really great. But it's been great talking to you.
Thank you so much.
I love stuff like this.
Oh
You're doing like such a great thing.
You're the best. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. This episode is one of my absolute favorites. Guys, if you like this episode, please share it with a friend. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to the show. And as always, I'll see you next Tuesday.